What's up, guys? We are back with a big Week 13 of college football picks for Saturday, November 23rd. We have a great video for you today covering a ton of games and giving you my best leans on the side and over-under for each one of them. We have a bunch of plays headed straight to the pinned comment where we put our favorite picks every single day. If you want to win all of your bets here in Week 13, hit that like button. It's good luck and shows support for the channel and all the hard work we're putting in every single day. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our daily content and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on the value of watching these videos as early as possible so you get the best lines. Speaking of getting the videos early, guys, all channel members get early access to all NCAA football and NFL videos, so sign up for a channel membership today by clicking the little join button right below the video. Members get their names up on screen just like right now also, so I really appreciate the support from all of you. Seeing that badge next to your comments keeps me fired up to bring you the best information on every sport every single day. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there for every major sport, currently covering NFL, college football, NBA, NCAA basketball, NHL, and the UFC. NCAA football has been one of our most profitable sports over the years. We have a seasoned expert capper over there at Stump the Spread, and he has a bunch of premium picks already posted, so click on the link in the description if you're interested in signing up, and also to join our free email list. The occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Also, if you're interested in peer-to-peer sports betting with only 1% juice, click the link in the description to check out betopenly.com, where you can make all of your favorite bets and even act as the house on parlays where you only need one leg to win to cash your bet. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got Wake Forest going on the road to take on the number 8 Miami Hurricanes. Wake Forest comes in this game fresh off a tough 24-31 loss there at North Carolina. Wake played a pretty decent game out there despite getting off to a slow start, only scoring 3 points in the first half. They kept things within one score there at the end. We didn't love what we saw from Michael Kern there. I mean, 14 of 23, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not exactly an amazing outing. The running game did look significantly better, though. Claiborne is a solid back, so they've got some options there on offense. I'm not going to say they've got the most wide receiver group or really the most dynamic group of offensive weapons. There's a reason this team's only 4-6 on the season, but they do dig in and play well down the stretch, guys. They put up 21 points there in the second half, keeping the pressure there on North Carolina, who had to, really play well there down the stretch. On defense, Wake Forest did a pretty good job against the passing game, guys, only giving up 132 yards through the air, so very, very good stuff there. They did struggle a little bit against the run, guys. They gave up 230 yards on 53 carries. It was actually worse than that. There was a negative 36-yard run in there, mixed in there. So, yeah, we're not going to really count that too much. But Omarion Hampton, 35 carries, 244 yards, and a touchdown. So, definitely some work to be done there for Wake Forest in terms of their, defending the running game. But overall, we don't hate what we saw from the Demon Deacons in that game, playing it to a one-score game. Very respectable stuff. So we'll see what they can do here going on the road to take on a very tough opponent in the Miami Hurricanes. They come into this game in kind of a bounce-back spot, coming off a 28-23 loss there at Georgia Tech, their first loss of the season, guys. So, yeah, that's a tough loss for them. Obviously, playing on the road, not the easiest thing to do. In that loss, guys, we saw Miami get off to a decent start to the game, but really just couldn't string anything together, guys. I mean, Cam Ward had a nice game, 348 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. This game being a loss doesn't really go on his door except for that costly turnover, that costly fumble that he had. So, yeah, I guess a little bit his fault. The running game wasn't amazing, guys. Martinez only 81 yards on his 15 carries, which obviously isn't terrible, but they only gave him 15 carries. Maybe they need to beef up, their running attack a little bit, but this really isn't a Miami team that's that interested in throwing the ball. So we'll see what they can do in this game going up against Wake Forest. The defense there for Miami looked decent, I suppose. They really struggled against the run, which is something that Wake Forest is going to be looking to take advantage of here. They don't have amazing quarterback play by any stretch of the imagination there at Georgia Tech, but Miami did manage to give up 2 passing touchdowns, so that's a little bit concerning. And just in general, their defense didn't look amazing. They generated 0 turnovers in the game, so yeah, not a spot that I'm super high on the Miami defense, guys. Looking at the numbers for this one, the Hurricanes are 24-point favorites playing at home. We've got an over-under of 67.5. Wake Forest 3-5-2 against the spread this year. They are 6-4 to the over as well. Miami, they are 5-4-1 against the spread this year. They're 7-2-1 to the over. So definitely some over trends that we want to be aware of here. in terms of my lean in this game, I really think we want to be on Wake Forest and the points here, guys. This is a lot of points to give a team that we'd rate around the middle of the tier there in the ACC. Wake Forest was competitive with a surging North Carolina team last week, and they were on the road. This could be a tricky spot going back-to-back on the road for Wake Forest, but we're feeling a bit better about it given Miami hasn't beaten a team in the ACC by this many points this season, and the Canes are coming off an upset loss on the road against Georgia Tech in their last outing, so they're definitely not a team with a lot of momentum. So definitely give me Wake Forest here in this one and the points. In terms of the over-under, guys, with both teams showing trends towards the over, I guess I slightly have to lean towards the over, but that is way too many points for my taste. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the SMU Mustangs. They're going on the road to take on the Virginia Cavaliers. SMU ranked 13th in the nation, 9-1 on the season. They've won several games in a row. Now they're coming off of a nice 38-28 win over Boston College, avoiding the letdown after their win against Pitt. So yeah, very good stuff from SMU right now. Coming into this game, playing pretty well, albeit Boston College not the toughest opponent, but we saw Kevin Jennings have a pretty good game. He did have that one interception, so that's not ideal. The running game was fine. No notes really there for Brashard Smith, who had 120 yards on 18 carries and a touchdown. SMU did not turn the ball over in this game either. So yeah, some definitely solid signs here from the Mustangs. Their defense was very, very questionable though, guys. They struggled against the run last week, giving up a couple of rushing touchdowns and 180 yards on the ground. They didn't do an amazing job against the pass. They did have one interception there on defense, but really, I'm not going to say it was a banner day there for the Mustangs. They came away with a 10-point win. Congratulations, but you were playing at home against a 500 team. So let's not overreact to that one too much as they go on the road here to take on the Virginia Cavaliers, who are 5-5 on the season. They come into this game in something of a bounce-back spot, fresh off of a very tough loss there at number 8 Notre Dame. So yeah, playing at Notre Dame this season, or kind of any season to be honest, is a little bit of a big ask. But yeah, it was a rough way to go there for the Cavaliers. I mean, they did a few positive things. I will say, their running game looked all right, albeit in a game they were losing, so they weren't able to completely dedicate to the run, but they still put up 128 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns on only 32 carries. So yeah, not a horrible rushing performance, especially, we saw good stuff from Xavier Brown out there, and yeah, some very positive things. Tony Muskett is definitely a guy that can run the ball a little bit from the quarterback position, so there's some positives here. If we hadn't had 3 interceptions thrown there by Anthony Caldera, this would have been a completely different game there for the Cavaliers. So we'll see if they can turn things around a little bit on offense. On defense, they did have an interception. They did give up 35 points. That was not all on the defense, so a lot of that is on the door of those 3 interceptions. They generated a couple of turnovers in the game in total, and they did an okay job slowing down the passing game. Maybe not an amazing job slowing down the run, but overall they were just a little bit outclassed by a very elite Notre Dame team. So we'll see what they can do here in this matchup. Looking at the numbers, guys, Virginia is getting 10.5 points playing at home. We've got an over-under of 56.5. SMU is 6-4 against the spread this year. They're 7-3 to the over. Virginia is 6-3-1 against the spread this season, and they are 7-3 to the under. Guys, I'm going to be siding with Virginia here, getting double-digit points. I feel like they're a little bit better than their 500 record would indicate, and some of this has to do with their very tough schedule they've gone against. Virginia is certainly battle-tested. They should be happy to get back home after playing 3 of their last 4 on the road. SMU didn't impress us very much with their 10-point home win over Boston College last week. The pressure is definitely on SMU as they try and stay atop the ACC standings with a win. Virginia has something to play for as well as they look to reach their 6th win and bowl eligibility. I like the home team to stay very competitive in this game. Will they win it straight up? That seems like a bit of a stretch, but I think they'll be right there in the end. So definitely like Virginia and the points in this one. In terms of the over-under, we've got mixed trends. I'm staying away from the over-under in this game. Hey guys, jumping in here with a quick ad break. This is a great time to sign up at StumpTheSpread.com. Signing up for a premium membership gets you access to our entire team of cappers covering NFL, college football, NBA, NHL, UFC, and NCAA basketball. It's been one of our most profitable sports over the years. We make things extremely easy for you with pick notifications directly to your phone and unit sizes assigned to each play so you can see where our confidence level is on every individual matchup. To test out the service before you buy, join our free email list to get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're new. And also, if you want to experience peer-to-peer sports betting while paying almost zero juice, click the link in the description and sign up at betopenly.com. Best peer-to-peer betting site out there. Now guys, back to the games. Next on the docket, guys, we got another early game. We've got number 25, Illinois. They're going on the road to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Illinois comes into this game fresh off of a much-needed win there over Michigan State. A 38-16 win, so a pretty convincing one, guys. In the win, we saw exactly what we want to see from Illinois, guys. Altmaier, a very good game. 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Very, very key there. In terms of the running attack, it looked good, guys. Josh McCray, 61 yards, 3 touchdowns. He broke off a 30-yard rush. Very, very good stuff from, the entire team running the ball. So we loved what we saw from Illinois on offense, generally speaking. And Pat Bryant, guys, 4 receptions, 135 yards, and a touchdown. He is a premier wide receiving option. So, yeah, loved what we saw from Illinois on offense. On defense, they did give up a couple of passing touchdowns, but only 16 points over the course of the game. They only gave up 87 rushing yards from 28 attempts there for Michigan. So, very good stuff there. And, yeah, they didn't generate any turnovers. That's not ideal, but that is not the norm for Illinois. So, I would kind of expect to see that change in this game. We'll see what happens, though, as they go on the road to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, who are 6-4 on the year. They just clinched bowl eligibility there. They're coming off a 31-17 win over Maryland. So a nice win for them on the road at Maryland, guys, in that game. We did see some positive stuff from Rutgers, obviously. I mean, they looked pretty good on defense. They did look vulnerable to the pass, giving up 335 passing yards. But we did see, some pretty good stuff from Rutgers there in the passing attack too. 238 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. That's not bad. The running game was working. I'm not going to say it was smashing out there, but we did see a couple rushing touchdowns as well. And we saw Rutgers do a great job of taking care of the ball. So definitely some positives there on defense, struggling a bit against the run, struggling a bit against the pass. Just not really a great defensive performance there from Rutgers. So definitely something to keep an eye on in this game. The Scarlet Knights are 2.5-point favorites in this one. We've got an over-under of 47. Illinois is 6-3-1 against the spread this year. They are 7-3 to the under. Rutgers is 5-4-1 against the spread. They are 6-4 to the over. Guys, I like Illinois and the points in this one quite a bit. Illinois is a team I felt like has been largely undervalued this season by the odds makers, and it's nice to see them getting some respect with the betting public, pushing them as favorites in this one, but that has flipped now. We've got them as underdogs. We'll definitely take that. Illinois looked really good last week at home, getting past Michigan State comfortably, and yeah, a contest many thought would be competitive, but it was certainly not. We haven't been overly confident in Rutgers this year, but to be fair, the Scarlet Knights have picked up back-to-back wins against Minnesota and Maryland to reach bowl eligibility, like I was talking about, and Rutgers has one of the weaker home field advantages in the Big Ten, and Illinois shouldn't be too worried about that. They also rank a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball than Rutgers did, and we see that being the difference maker for the Illini in this one as they come out, and they could very likely get the straight-up win. So you could even take this one on the money line. I'm going to be riding with the Fighting Illini and the points. In terms of that over-under of 47, I would maybe lean slightly towards the under, but not really an over-under spot that I'm very fond of. Next on the docket, guys, we are looking at the Yukon Huskies. They're going on the road to take on the Syracuse Orange. The Huskies are now 7-3 on the season, coming off of that 31-23 win there at UAB. So, yeah, nice stuff there for the Huskies. Got to give them a little bit of credit in that game. They, did well, 31-23. It's not a big win, obviously, against a UAB team that's only 2-7 this season and not going to be reaching bowl eligibility. But, yeah, Yukon really leaned hard on their rushing attack. 40 carries for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. Quarterback play for this team remains kind of weird, guys. We don't even really have a for sure starter on a week-to-week basis, so don't love that journey there for Yukon. Their wide receiver group doesn't really dazzle me. They did turn the ball over twice in the game and still managed to win by 8, which only winning by a single score technically against UAB, maybe not the best look. Their defense really struggled against the run, guys, giving up 115 yards to BB Jr. Yeah, not a great look there. They did okay against the pass with those 2 interceptions. It was really the defense that played better, generating 4 turnovers. But like I said, guys, against a UAB team that is not great, I'm not going to be freaking out too much about this Yukon team, guys. There's a reason, they're 37th in the NCAAs, giving up 21.3 points per game, but they've had some help there. So, and giving up 23 points against UAB, really not going to get me super excited. So, we'll see what they can do here going on the road to take on the Syracuse Orange, who are 7-3 on the season, coming off of a nice 33-25 win there at Cal. So, a pretty nice road win there, no doubt about that. And we've seen some big things from Syracuse, generally speaking, this season. They're 5th in the ACC right now, but they've done some good stuff, guys. Kyle McCord looking like a monster, 323 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions last week. So good stuff for him there against Cal. And yeah, we saw Allen have a big game running the ball, 109 yards, 23 carries, a couple of touchdowns for him. Gasbin II put up 109 receiving yards on 8 receptions. He didn't find his way into the end zone, but a very, very good day. And Syracuse put up 33 points in the win. They scored in each quarter, so very, very good stuff there. They put up 21 points in the second quarter, so elite stuff there. We even saw some signs of life from the Syracuse defense, which hasn't necessarily been insane this year. I mean, they gave up 225 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown, but they had a couple of interceptions. They did a decent job of slowing down the running attack, especially if it hadn't been for that 175-yard run they gave up to Javian Thomas. So that wasn't great, but they, generating a couple turnovers in the game, definitely enough to get the job done for Syracuse. So we'll see what they can do here playing at home in this game. So that's a positive, look. They are 10-point favorites. We've got an over/under of 54.5. Yukon is 5-3-2 against the spread. They are 5-4-1 to the over. Syracuse 5-5 against the spread this year, and they are 4-4-2 to the over/under. So guys, we're going to be leaning towards Syracuse here -10. They picked up a solid win in their last outing, beating Cal on the road, that 33-25 win. Kyle McCord experiment has gone well for Syracuse this season, as the Orange have now improved to 7-3 overall. They're in the upper half of the ACC standings. I feel like Syracuse brings in the clear edge on the offensive side of the ball. That should be the difference maker here for the home team. A few weeks ago, watching UConn's 17-10 win over Rice had us lose a little bit of faith in the Huskies on the offensive side of the ball, and Syracuse should be thrilled to get back home after playing 4 out of their last 5 games on the road. That's pretty crazy, guys. In their last home game, Syracuse picked up a nice overtime win over Virginia Tech. We did have Syracuse in that game, guys. If you flip way back, you can see that one. It was even in the thumbnail, if I remember correctly. So we're going to be riding with Syracuse again in this game at -10. Next up, guys, we're headed a little bit into the afternoon here. We've got the Wisconsin Badgers. They're going on the road to take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a Big Ten showdown. Wisconsin comes into this game fresh off of a 3rd straight loss. They did play a really tough game there against Oregon. Number 1 Oregon. They ended up losing by 3 points, 16-3. So a huge bounce back for Wisconsin after they got blown out at Iowa to come home and play a good game against Oregon. But now they've got to go back on the road, guys. We'll see what they can do. I mean, last week against Oregon, obviously you're not going to see big offensive numbers for a team that played game where they scored 13 points, but they did run the ball pretty well. That's the main calling card here of the Badgers. We didn't love what we saw from the passing game, guys. Lockie looking pretty weak, 12 of 28, obviously against an elite opponent, but still not too excited. And he did get picked off once, so they're going to be a little bit reluctant to have him throwing the ball a ton, I would think. On defense, holding Oregon to only 16 points, very impressive. But yeah, Dylan Gabriel still completed a high percentage of his passes. Wisconsin did have an interception in the game. They struggled a bit against the run. They generating that 1 turnover against Oregon. Not a terrible look, but I'm not going to really, start freaking out right now about, how well Wisconsin played in this game. They did end up taking the loss, they played well. They played well. Keeping things that close against the Oregon team is very impressive, but we're going to see if they can back it up here. This has been a completely different Wisconsin team when they play on the road versus when they play at home. In this game, they are going to be having to hit the road, guys, to take on the Cornhuskers, who are having a rough time. They come into this one losers of 4 in a row. They lost last week at USC, another team that seems to play better at home versus on the road. Yeah, in that 28-20 loss against USC, and I mean, not a terrible USC team, but also not like a great one. We saw Raiola. He didn't have a great day, guys. He got picked off twice, only passed for 191 yards, so we didn't love that. We did like some things that we saw in the running game there, guys. I mean, Johnson, Dowdle, they both put up good numbers. They combined for over 100 yards on only 18 carries, so that's not bad, but we didn't love a whole lot. This is the passing game, really, that was holding this offense back. In general, their defense played okay. They struggled a bit against the pass. They didn't do a great job of shutting down the run, but you take a couple of mistake possessions out of there, it could have been a completely different game. They did generate 1 turnover out there, so that's something positive, but really just a tough look for Nebraska. They're playing on the road, so they've got to be very excited to get back home for this game. And look at the numbers. The Cornhuskers are -1.5 at home in this one. We've got an over-under of 41.5. Wisconsin, they're 4-6 against the spread this season. They're 5-5 to the over-under. Nebraska, 5-4-1 against the spread. They're actually 7-3 to the under this season. Guys, I'm going to be siding with Nebraska here at home. It must be disappointing for Nebraska fans to see their team open the year 5-1 and then go on to lose 4 in a row to fall back to 500. We still see reason to be excited about the future for this program under head coach Matt Rule, and a lot of that has to do with the emergence of Dylan Raiola. Even though Nebraska has fallen in 4 straight, they've largely stayed competitive in these games, including a very impressive 17-21 loss there at Ohio State. We successfully faded Wisconsin in their last outing on the road, which ended in a 10-42 loss at Iowa. There isn't much separating Iowa and Nebraska in our opinion, and we shouldn't be surprised to see Wisconsin having a tough time in this one on the road as well. So definitely give me the Cornhuskers here at home. I think they come away with a win in this game by at least a field goal. In terms of the over-under, I'd maybe lean a little bit towards that under 41.5. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game, but definitely not an over-under spot that I think you should definitely be playing. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Panthers going on the road to take on the Louisville Cardinals in a ACC showdown. The Panthers come into this game 7-3 on the season. They're having a rough time lately, though, guys. They have dropped 3 in a row after getting off to that 7-0 start. Losing at SMU, not a bad look, guys. SMU is pretty good, but losing against Virginia and then losing against Clemson, just been a little bit tough recently. In that very close loss against Clemson, it was a 24-20 loss there for Pitt. They did some positive things in that game, no doubt about it. I mean, we saw Yarnell. He passed for 350 yards in that loss. Like, that can't feel great. He was picked off once, only had 1 passing touchdown, but still, the dude put in some pretty serious work. The running game for Pitt didn't look amazing in that one, but they looked okay. I mean, Desmond Reed had 68 yards there on 14 carries, which obviously is not horrible. We did see a huge day there from Desmond Reed in the passing game, guys. He caught 10 balls for 108 yards. Like, that is very, very impressive. A lot of the Panthers offense centers around him, and I think we could see him have a sneaky big game in this one, guys. So keep track of him out there for sure. On defense, we didn't love what Pitt was able to do against the the passing attack there, Cade Klubnik, but he's somebody that's had a good time against some pretty serious opponents. They do a very good job against the running game, guys. A very, very good job. They only gave up 58 yards on 27 carries. So elite stuff there from the Panthers in that one. Antonio Williams did go off for 149 receiving yards on 13 receptions and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, they can struggle a little bit against premier athletic, wide receiver talent, but we also saw Pitt generate a turnover in this game, and they kept things very, very close. So we got to give them a little bit of credit for this game, despite the fact they ended up taking the loss. So they're going to try to bounce back here against the Louisville Cardinals, who are 6-4 on the season. They come into this game fresh off of a tough loss there at Stanford last week. So they get to come back home after that 38-35 loss. They are bowl eligible already, so they have to feel pretty good about that. In that loss against Stanford, guys, they just had no answers there for the passing attack of the Cardinals. It was pretty rough stuff in this Cardinal v. Cardinal showdown, and Stanford definitely coming out on top. I mean, we did see good things from Duke Watson there in the running game, but yeah, that 1 interception, pretty costly. They didn't fumble the ball away, although they did put it on the floor a couple times, but yeah, it was just a little bit rough. I mean, Chris Bell had a huge day, and so did Ja'Cory Brooks. They both caught over 100 receiving yards, so that's nice, but yeah, they just couldn't get it done there at the end, and Stanford ends up winning by a field goal. So yeah, the Louisville defense, I don't know, guys. We'll see what they can do in this game. Obviously, they were in the top 25. They got knocked out by that loss. Over the course of the season, they're only 73rd in the NCAA in points against, so that's not a great look. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see they are 8.5-point favorites here at home. We've got an over-under of 57.5. The Panthers are 7-3 against the spread this year. We've made some money on the Panthers this year. They're 6-4 to the under. Louisville is 4-5-1 against the spread. They are 7-3 to the over. Guys, we're going to be taking Pittsburgh +8 or +8.5 now in this one. When stacking up their respective resumes, I feel like it's fair to have the opinion that Pitt has been the better team this season in comparison to Louisville. We really didn't like what we saw from Louisville in their last outing as the Cardinals lost to one of the weaker teams in the ACC in Stanford. Many have a high opinion of Louisville's offense, but Pittsburgh is right there with them, averaging just half point less per game than the Cardinals. I see this being a very competitive game, and with that being the case, you definitely want to be on the underdog here, getting well over a touchdown, like 8.5. That is over a pretty key number, so definitely give me Pittsburgh and the points in this game. And in terms of that over-under, we've got too many mixed trends here. I'm staying away from that over-under. Next on the docket, guys, we are looking at the Troy Trojans. They're going on the road to take on the Louisiana Raging Cajuns out there in the Sun Belt, guys. Troy comes into this one fresh off of a nice win. They've actually won 2 in a row here. They won at Georgia Southern the last time out, which, I mean, Georgia Southern, they're 6-4 on the season. Like, they're not a terrible team. It was a big, big upset win there for Troy, who's only, like I said, 3-7 on the year. They had a great game there from Caldwell. He had 2 passing touchdowns, 288 yards through the air, a very efficient day, and no interceptions. The Troy running attack was also working there, guys. I mean, they had 153 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Damian Taylor, 92 yards on 18 carries, so he was balling out there, no doubt about that. Devontae Ross had a nice day, catching 10 balls for 95 yards and a receiving touchdown. He had a 31-yard grab. Like, there were some very positive things happening for Troy on offense. Not something that is always the case for this team, and the defense wasn't far behind, guys. The defense also had a pretty good day. They put up, they only allowed 20 points. They had an interception. They didn't allow, J.C. French managed to pass for over 200 yards, so that was good. They were very solid against the run. That was nice as well. They didn't generate a lot of turnovers, just the one, so we got to give them some credit. I mean, over the course of the season, this Troy defense hasn't necessarily been, like breathtakingly good. 82nd in the NCAA, giving up 27 points per game. Not really anything to write home about. So we'll see if they're able to replicate any part of that performance here, taking on a much tougher opponent in the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. The Louisiana guys, they are 8-2 on the season. They're coming off a tough loss against South Alabama. They lost that game 24-22. Definitely a big upset. Not a game you would have expected Louisiana to really struggle in, guys, and struggle they did. The passing game didn't really get going. I mean, 185 yards, 14 of 17 there from Chandler Fields. Just not huge numbers. We did see Ben Woolbridge get picked off, though. That's not great. So, yeah, turnovers can really hurt, and they definitely hurt Louisiana in this game. They turned the ball over twice. Not something you usually see from the Raging Cajuns. The running game didn't have the dominant impact that it normally has for this team. And yeah, just a rough game out there. And the defense looked okay. They gave up 285 passing yards, but they had an interception. They gave up very little to the run. I mean, 3 rushing touchdowns, yeah, but only 68 yards on the ground. It was just rough out there, guys. You're going to have games like this, even if you're one of the best teams in a conference, and that's what happened to Louisiana. So they're very much in a bounce back spot for this game, guys. They're 9.5 point favorites. We've got an over under of 52.5. Troy is 5-5 against the spread. They are 5-4-1 to the under. Louisiana, they are 5-5 against the spread this season. They are 6-4 to the under. Guys, I like Louisiana here at -9.5. Finally, when we gave up on fading Louisiana, they spurned us last week, losing at home to South Alabama by a final of 22-24. I still feel like it's more than fair to say Louisiana is the best team in the Sun Belt, especially with their head-to-head win over Texas State. Troy is clearly better than the 3-7 record would indicate, and the Trojans are headed in the right direction, winning their last 2 games in a row. With that said, Troy doesn't have much to play for at this point in the year with bowl eligibility already out of reach. I feel like Louisiana should be refocused coming off of that disappointing loss, and the Cajuns still have work to do to lock up their division title. Take the home team in this one to bounce back with a convincing win and cover. I think we see Louisiana easily win this by at least 10 points. I could see them winning this by a couple of touchdowns without too much trouble. And in terms of that over under of 52.5, I'm going to be leaning a little bit towards the over. I think we're going to see some offense in this game, but probably not putting that over under play in the pinned comment. Rolling right along here, guys, we are looking at the Baylor Bears. They're going on the road to take on the Houston Cougars. Baylor comes into this game playing some of their best football of the season. They won their last 4 in a row, winning at Texas Tech, at home against Oklahoma State, at home against TCU in a nail-biter, and then last week they went on the road to West Virginia and got a very gutsy 49-35 win, playing in an environment that's usually pretty tough, and the Mountaineers have been better than projected this season. They're 500 on the season, so Baylor getting a very nice 49-35 win. The offense was on point, guys. Sawyer Robertson, 3 touchdown passes, 329 yards through the air, 0 interceptions. So very good stuff there, but not as good as the running game, guys. Bryson Washington, 18 carries, 123 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Elite stuff there. Dawson Pendergrass was also very good. He had a rushing touchdown and 68 yards on only 11 carries. This was a dominant offensive performance there from Baylor. Every time they got the ball, they were scoring. They were putting up numbers in this game. 14 points in the first quarter, 21 points in the second quarter. They were balling out there. So loved what we saw from Baylor on offense. I mean, we also saw Josh Cameron put up 100 receiving yards on only 5 receptions. He had a 43-yard grab. He had a touchdown out there. So just tons and tons of positive stuff for a Baylor offense that put up all these numbers and did not turn over the ball a single time. So that's a big deal, guys, and we'll see what they can do here against Houston. On defense last week, Baylor was pretty good. They did give up 35 points, so I'm not going to say they were amazing. They struggled against the run, no doubt about it. I would say they did okay against the pass. They did generate 1 turnover in the game, and that was kind of enough, but they do need to tighten up a little bit there against the run. That is definitely an area of concern for the Bears. Over the course of the season, I mean, they're not a great defensive team, guys, giving up 27.6 points per game, but they have been elite offensively, easily in the top 20 nationally on offense. So loving what we're seeing from the Bears here as they go on the road to take on the Houston Cougars, who are now 4-6 on the season, coming off a 27-3 beat down there at the hands of Arizona. They got that crazy win. Houston got that crazy win there over number 17 Kansas State. But yeah, followed up with that stinker last week on the road against Arizona. At 4-6 on the season, they technically still have a chance here to make a bowl game, but we'll see. This is not really a team that strikes me as one that's likely to end up playing for something important late in the season. I mean, we saw Zion Chris, not a great day from him. He got picked off once, only 191 yards there against Arizona. The running game had some bright spots, I suppose, but I don't know, guys. I don't know that they're really going to be able to run the ball that great against Baylor. And is this offense, this hasn't been a great Houston offense over the course of the season by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if you guys remember this, but earlier in the season, they got shut out 2 games in a row. So they're definitely better than that. But, over the course of the season, they are 134th nationally in points per game. So definitely some problems there for Houston. On defense, they gave up 27 points last week, which isn't horrible, but they did, only generate 1 turnover. They struggled pretty hard against the passing attack. They struggled a little bit against the run as well. I mean, yeah, Conley had 107 yards on only 11 carries and a rushing touchdown. So not loving what we're seeing from Houston really on either side of the ball right now. Looking at the numbers, we see the Cougars are getting 7.5 points here playing at home. We've got an over-under of 50.5. Baylor is 7-3 against the spread. They are also 7-3 to the over. Houston is 5-5 against the spread. They're also an NCAA best 9-1 this year to the under. Guys, I'm siding with Baylor here to get the win and cover. All of a sudden, they're one of the hottest teams in the Big 12 with those 4 straight wins to reach bowl eligibility. Not only has Baylor been winning, but they've been doing it with a margin, beating West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech by double digits during this stretch. Houston has been a tough team to figure out as they've had some nice resume wins, but they've been horribly inconsistent, especially on offense. They had one of the worst performances of the season last week, losing against a struggling Arizona team 3-27. Houston has one of the worst offenses in college football, 134th in the nation in scoring average. Like I was saying, we're going to ride the hot hand. Give me Baylor and the points, to win and cover this one. I don't think Houston and the points has very much value here. We definitely want to be on the Baylor Bears. I think they win this game comfortably by 10 plus points at least. So definitely going to be on Baylor in terms of the side in this one. With that over under of 50.5, I might be leaning a little bit towards the under here with Houston being such a massive under team, but Baylor's an over team, so probably not an over under play that I could put in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we are looking at the Marshall Thundering Herd. They're going on the road to take on Old Dominion. Marshall comes into this game winners of 4 in a row, guys. They beat Georgia State, UL Monroe, Southern Miss, and Coastal Carolina. Taking down Coastal Carolina their last time out, a very solid win. We now see Marshall atop the eastern portion there of the Sun Belt. So some good things happening for Marshall in that 31-19 win they had over Coastal Carolina. We saw Braylon Braxton, a combination of 2 of the most millennial names. Is it millennial names ever? Braylon Braxton, guys, 219 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. So a great day for him. Marshall didn't really concentrate on the run too much in that game, and they didn't have too much success when they did. I mean, some okay numbers, but nothing too great. Not a team that's going to focus too much on the run. They're tending to try and get the job done through the air there. In terms of like huge receiving numbers, we didn't see crazy numbers from any individual. They like to spread the ball around. Most importantly, guys, we saw Marshall not turn the ball over a single time last week. So very, very good stuff there for Marshall. They're going to be looking to carry that over here. I mean, over the course of the season, we've seen Marshall, they're 54th in the NCAA in points against, only giving up 22.9 points per game. They're scoring 30 per game, like some very nice numbers there for the Thundering Herd. So they'll be hoping to keep things rolling here, going up against the Old Dominion Monarchs, who are 4-6 on the season. They come into this game fresh off a 35-32 nail biter of a loss there against James Madison. In that loss, guys, Old Dominion obviously not being able to get the job done, and that was largely due to their terrible quarterback play, guys. Colton Joseph, 9 of 21, 189 yards, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns. It was the running game that really helped put points on the board there, and some mistakes there from James Madison. But we saw Aaron Young, Colton Joseph, he did a good job running the ball. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, but man, when this guy goes to throw it, you better be holding your breath if you're an Old Dominion fan, because you do not know which team that's going to, or if he's just going to throw it straight into the ground. So Old Dominion really going to need that rushing attack to pay off for them to find wins right now, or that is not going to be happening. They did a decent job taking care of the ball, only that 1 turnover, but guys, the defense was not good. They had 0 answer for the James Madison rushing attack. They also gave up a pretty good chunk there in the passing game too, guys. They gave a passing touchdown, had no interceptions, nearly 200 yards of offense through the air they surrendered. So yeah, not loving what we're seeing from the Old Dominion Monarchs on defense, guys. Over the course of the season, they're giving up 26.2 points per game. That is tied for 78th in the NCAA. So definitely reason to worry here about Old Dominion. Looking at the numbers, Old Dominion is actually a favorite in this game. They're 2.5 point favorites playing at home. We've got an over under of 51.5. Marshall this season, guys, is 8-2 against the spread. They're 6-4 to the under. Old Dominion 5-5 against the spread, and 5-5 there to the over under. Guys, we're taking Marshall on the points here. This seems like an incorrect line to me. Marshall has quietly gone about their business, standing atop their division in the Sun Belt with a record of 5-1 in league play. We aren't necessarily overly bullish on Marshall, but we also feel like the Thundering Herd aren't getting any respect in this one from the odds makers, getting a some points here against the 6-4 Monarchs. Old Dominion coming off back-to-back losses against Appalachian State and James Madison, and we'd be a little surprised if they stop the bleeding in this one against what has been one of the best teams in the Sun Belt. Marshall ranks better than Old Dominion on both sides of the ball, and we like the Thundering Herd to push for the upset here as they cover the spread pretty comfortably. You could also take, you can take Marshall to win this game straight up. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Next on the docket, guys, we are looking at the Virginia Tech Hokies. They're going on the road here to take on the Duke Blue Devils. Virginia Tech comes into this game losers of 2 in a row, but when you're losing at Syracuse and then against number 23 Clemson, I'm not going to freak out too much. Those are not really games that the Hokies are supposed to be winning at this point in the season. They did keep things very competitive last week against Clemson, though, so definitely kudos deserved for that. And that was despite a terrible game there from Kyron Drones, guys. He probably shouldn't be under center too much, although the Virginia Tech quarterback situation isn't super enviable, guys. Not like they've got a couple of monsters there, but over the course of the game, we did see Schlee put up 1 passing touchdown and 73 yards of offense. Their 2 interceptions are what really kind of sank this team, but that was against a very tough defense there in Clemson. So maybe you cut him a little bit of slack here. The running game didn't look good, but has looked good at different points this season. So definitely this is a game we're looking for something of a bounce back there from the Virginia Tech offense. We'll see if that happens, guys. I mean, they've been decent at different points this season for sure. I mean, they've had their good games, had their bad games. They put up 42 points against Boston College. They put up 31 points at Syracuse. So this is certainly an offense that is capable of bigger things than what they showed against Clemson. And Clemson, like I said, a very, very tough defense. On defense themselves, Virginia Tech gave up only 24 points. They had an interception. They did struggle a little bit against the run. I'm not going to say it was some sort of amazing day there for their defense. Over the course of the season, this defense hasn't been horrible, guys. They're in the top 50 nationally, at least, giving up 22.5 points per game. So we'll see if the defense can bounce back here a little bit. Obviously, that wasn't exactly what we were hoping they would do against Clemson, but we'll see what they can do here going on the road to take on the Duke Blue Devils, who are 7-3 on the year. They're coming off a win at NC State, so not necessarily the biggest win there against one of the worst teams in the ACC. The 2 games before that, they got obliterated by Miami. They also lost against SMU. So it has not been smooth sailing for Duke ever since taking their first loss of the season. They got that miracle win in week 5 there against North Carolina. Then they lost at Georgia Tech, and the wheels have kind of come off. But like I said, they are coming off a win there against the NC State Wolfpack, guys. Duke won that one 29-19. Thanks in large part to Malik Murphy having a great day, 2 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, which is pretty key. 245 yards to the air, nothing wrong with that. Duke really got stuffed there in the running game, though, which is kind of interesting to see. I mean, only 31 yards on 27 carries and 1 rushing touchdown. It's kind of a big yikes for me. So we'll see if they can bounce back a little bit. We did see Brown have a big day catching the ball, 88 yards for him on 5 receptions. So that's something positive. Over the course of the season, the Duke offense has been, I would say, I mean, they're definitely decent, but not great. I mean, 85th in the nation, 26.8 points per game. I'm not going to be writing home about that. And on defense last week, giving up 19 points against NC State, I don't think that's the end of the world. They had an interception in the game. They also, they had a total of 2 turnovers, an interception, and a fumble recovery, so that's not bad. They did a decent job limiting the pass, a decent job limiting the run. They just weren't able to completely shut down everything NC State wanted to do. Over the course of the season, Duke's been good on defense, guys. 44th in the nation, giving up 22.1 points per game. So not the end of the world, but also not really not what I would term a dominant defense. So we'll see what they can do in this matchup, guys. The Blue Devils are actually getting 3 points here playing at home. We got an over/under of 46.5. Virginia Tech 5-5 against the spread this season. They are 6-4 to the over. Duke is 6-3-1 against the spread. They are 6-4 to the under. Guys, I'm going to be on Virginia Tech here at -3. They've been one of the bigger disappointments in the ACC this season. Even with that being said, I still value them here with a higher ceiling in comparison to Duke. The Hokies are just a couple plays away from standing in the top tier of the ACC, but their unfortunate losses at Syracuse and Miami have the Hokies now sitting in the middle of the conference. Duke has been better than we were expecting this season, I'll have to admit it, but we're looking for Virginia Tech to bounce back with the win as the Hokies look to reach bowl eligibility here, having an added incentive to play well on the road in this specific contest. So I think we'll actually see a comfortable win here for Virginia Tech. I don't think they're going to have any trouble covering the 3 points in this game. I would also be looking just a little bit at over 46.5 in this one probably, but not an over-under spot, once again, that I'm really in love with. Not finding a lot of good over-under spots in this, slate in general. Last but not least here, guys, we got a bit of a deep cut for you. We're headed out to the Mountain West for the Air Force versus Nevada Wolfpack game. Air Force comes into this one surprisingly winners of their last 2 in a row, guys. They shut out Oregon State last week 28-0, and that was on the heels of a nice win there against Fresno State as well, 36-28. They will take any win they can get. And not like these were against necessarily, great opponents, but Fresno State, in the top half of the Mountain West, Definitely a step up for the Falcons, who have been pretty terrible in general this season, but are seeming to find their stride. In that blowout shutout win there against Oregon State, guys, we saw Hayes and Engel both, look pretty good there throwing the ball. I mean, Engel only had that one pass, so he's not really the quarterback. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they looked pretty decent out there. This isn't a team that's going to throw the ball, really. They're going to run it, and they've got their own style, and it was working last week, guys. 65 rushes, I know, an insane number, but 4 rushing touchdowns, 271 yards on the ground, though. Dylan Carson, 26 carries for 96 yards himself. They're going to grind it out, guys. They are going to play the ground game, and they are not going to stop. That's just the way this team works. That's what they're trying to do, and they're going to make it happen. They did fumble it away once in that win, but yeah, other than that, very, very good stuff. And the defense, guys, the defense was dominant, obviously giving up 0 points. They had 1 interception there, gave up only 106 passing yards, so very, very good stuff there. And yeah, giving up very little to the running game. It was just a dominant day there for the Air Force Falcons defense against, a team that had more wins than them. So yeah, I'm not like I'm saying Oregon State is an amazing team. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but they were supposed to be better than Air Force, I would have thought. Air Force this season, the rushing yards are there. They're a run first and all the time kind of team. Their defense has been pretty decent, 64th in the nation, giving up 24 per game. So we like the direction that Air Force is headed in right now as they go on the road to take on the Nevada Wolfpack, who have lost 4 in a row coming into this one. They did just play a very close game there at number 12 Boise State, so got to give them some credit for that one. But at only 3-8 on the season, kind of seems like the year is effectively over there for Nevada, coming into this game. So that can't feel great. What they did against Boise State last week had to feel pretty good. They didn't really, I'm not going to say they had a chance to win this game, but they kept things more competitive than I would have guessed they would. I mean, we did see Braden Lewis have a good day, 188 yards to the air, 1 passing touchdown. We also had, Ballone, that trick play basically for 44 yards and a touchdown for him. So that's cool, but not something you can count on. I mean, the running game was pretty bad there for Nevada. Don't like what that was able to do at all. The passing game really needed all of that, just fluky stuff to happen. Nevada still does not have a conference win this season, and they weren't going to be getting one against Boise State. They had no answers there for Genty, which nobody does this season, but he had 209 yards on 34 carries and 3 rushing touchdowns against them. So yeah, not a lot of positives for the Nevada Wolfpack defense in this game, guys. I mean, in general, this season they haven't been great either, giving up 28.5 points per game. They're only scoring 24.3 points per game, which is 96th in the nation. This just has not been a very good season there for Nevada. I mean, they've got a loss against Hawaii, a loss against Fresno State. Like, this has just been a little bit of a tough way to go. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see Nevada, they're actually 3.5 point favorites here playing at home. We've got an over under of 44.5. Air Force, they're 3-7 against the spread. They are 6-4 to the under. Nevada, 6-4 against the spread and 6-5 to the over. Guys, I like Air Force here plus 3.5. We were completely out on them earlier in the season, but there's no denying they've taken a clear step forward since their 4th quarter comeback attempt on the road against Colorado State about a month ago. Air Force is now coming off back-to-back upset wins, taking down Fresno State and Oregon State, and the Falcons are playing with more confidence now than we've seen from them all year long. Nevada is better than their 3-8 overall record would suggest, I think, but now with bowl eligibility out of reach, I don't see a lot of positives for the Wolfpack coming into this contest. We're going to ride the hot hand here. Give me Air Force and their running attack and the points in this game. I think they at least keep it within a field goal, if not score the outright win. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.